Welcome in, everybody. A late night full court trap pod coming at you. We just watched some Tuesday night action, some two shocking results, really, with Kentucky and Georgia and Tennessee versus Florida. Blake, first of all, how are you doing, my man?
I'm doing all right. Worked a little, and been watching some college hoops since. What about yourself?
I wish I could get the 40 minutes of my life back that I watched Kentucky and Georgia. And when it comes to instant reactions, we'll start there. Kentucky goes down to Athens and loses by double digits to the Bulldogs. I think I just got called for a foul that's being reviewed at the monitor just for talking about this game. It was a disaster on the behalf of college basketball refereeing. We got to do better, but got to give Georgia their flowers here. They came out ready to play. Kentucky
Hmm.
clearly did not. It was a brutal performance all around, and another one of those nights where Kentucky just couldn't buy a bucket, and about two guys showed up. And in a league as deep as the SEC, Blake, this is the kind of result you're going to get when you combine those factors.
Yeah, just felt like a referee show that entire time. Like those guys were trying to get their uh few minutes of glory. Uh, and I thought Asa Newell, after a pretty badly played first half, I felt like he came out and just dominated that second half. Was hitting threes like it was nothing, scoring at the rim, just doing a lot of stuff, hitting his free throws when they needed them. Like he was just making some big shots. Blue Kane all night was a problem for Kentucky. Dakota LaFew, he was a problem as well. Tyron Lawrence chipped in some points. I think it was like 14 points. So overall, really good game by the Bulldogs. The I'm not taking anything away from their performance. I mean, I just thought it was a badly played Kentucky game mixed in with a lot of, I'd say, iffy and possibly bad calls by the ref. Felt very one sided.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. I mean, there was one call in particular. I think it was on Jackson Robinson, but I mean, to put it mildly, Blue Cane completely just flopped off of him. Like there wasn't much
Yeah.
contact made, and it felt like in that second half there was a whistle being blown at every turn. But I mean, you can't take away from Georgia. They were the better team on the night. They came out more physically and mentally tough. They enforced their will. Asa Newell, he made the plays that Mike White brought him in there for, and that he got his NIL money for, and Silas Demery as well, another guy in Georgia that we didn't mention. He had a great game, but turning over to Kentucky and the poor shooting. I mean, I'm looking at the splits right now from the starting five. We had Andrew Carr with 2 for 7, Amari Williams 1 for 4, Otega Owe 3 for 13, Jackson Robinson 1 for 5, and then Lamont Butler 8 for 14. And when that's what your starting five that you rely on game in and game out is looking like, it's a recipe for disaster. Brandon Garrison, he was probably the best performer of the game, to be honest. He came out, showed some fight off the bench, chipped in 13 points in about 27 minutes, and Kobe Brea, he lit it up against Florida. He couldn't find the bucket at all in this one. Blake, I'm starting to wonder. I don't know if you are too. Is this a Kentucky team that just simply can't perform on the road? Because this is another one, just like the Clemson game, where they just could not get a shot to fall at all, and it was just a one thing after the other, one bad play, a sloppy turnover, a bad call that went against them, and they just could never really respond.
I think it's a couple of things. It's A, their inability to play on the road, and also B, they've showed to like play down the comp almost, I would say. Like Ohio State, they're not really a super good team in the Big Ten this year. They got blown out by like 20 to them on a neutral site court where it was like 85% Kentucky fans. They got blown out to Clemson at Clemson at Little John. And then now they get beat by like 13 to Georgia at Stegeman. And I wouldn't call it a bad loss at all in any shape or form. Because don't get me wrong, Georgia's a really good team this year in a stacked conference, but it's not necessarily a good loss for Kentucky.
No, yeah, not at all.
With them being already, they were 0-1 coming into today in conference play. They're unranked as of now, which I'm assuming they're going to get boosted up to the 25, 24 range, probably somewhere around there. And if so, that just only goes to show how unbelievable the SEC really is this year.
Yeah, also another guy for Georgia, I was just thinking about it when reflecting on this game. Somto Cyril, the one-time Kentucky commit who ditched out after Cal went to Arkansas, he was a force off the bench. He had like 6 and 8 for Georgia. He made his presence known, and he's a high-energy guy for them, a defensive anchor and a paint beast. He provides a spark for them when they need it, and my biggest concern with this Kentucky team right now is I do think that when they're playing at their best, the potential is just limitless. You know, that there's nothing stopping them. But when you have nights like tonight when they're playing at their worst, I mean, it's a really, really tough watch. And I feel like a lot of teams are starting to kind of figure out the way to beat them because it was a pattern in the Clemson game, a pattern in the Ohio State game, and this one. If you slow the tempo down, you make Kentucky uncomfortable, and you get physical with them, they kind of just fold. Because, I mean, Andrew Carr, he's not the most physical big man in the world. Amari Williams, he kind of just picks and chooses which days he wants to show up and be physical. I mean, you saw the good version of him last weekend against Florida, but tonight, no, not at all. And then when Jackson Robinson, and I mean, I hate to crush him after tonight, but I think it's kind of warranted. He just ghosted again in a big time spot. And that's a guy that Pope brought in thinking that he was going to be your bucket getter. And really the only game he stepped into that role so far was the Gonzaga game back in December. So something's going to have to change for him because I feel like he's a missing piece to this Kentucky team right now. And if you plug him in, I think that would help out a lot.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, not to rain on Colin Chandler's parade, but he should never step foot on a basketball court again for this season at least, and the remaining SEC play. He's just not ready for the moment. I mean, he had an awful pass, I know, off of inbounds, and I think it was the first half. And then he just looks super lost out there. And then when you got your two big men, your starters, Andrew Carr and Amari, combining for 8 points on the night. 8 points. That just can't happen. I mean, Andrew Carr, he's kind of showed to be almost timid at times with trying to score. Like tonight, at times you could see he was trying to be aggressive, get to the basket, things like that. But you just can't get held to 6 points as one of the top scorers on that team. I just felt it was a really bad night overall for Kentucky. Jackson Robinson, as you said, just ghosted once again. He's really looking shaky almost. Like he's showed to like be invisible at times in key moments when the team really needs him. Kobe Brea had a really bad shooting night, I felt like, but I mean he's playing sick from what I know. But
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm sure he'll pick up production next game. Uh, Travis Perry, coming into the year, people probably didn't think he was going to play hardly at all, besides like the Kentucky faithful citizens trying to root for him to get some playing time. But he's given some pretty good production. I'm not saying he's going to be the guy moving forward at all. I think once Kerr comes back, he'll probably just not play much, if at all. But he's really showing some promise right now. I mean, 1 for 1. He only took one shot, and it was a floater down the middle of the lane. So I mean, he's not bad.
No, no, and you alluded to it when Kerr comes back. I think that's something that kind of got swept under the rug with this Kentucky team because Kerr, he got hurt in that Gonzaga game, and obviously the headline in that game was Kentucky storms back and gets that win. But I mean, a lot of people kind of like to around college basketball kind of like to dunk on Kerr because he's a little bit of a shot chucker, and he talks a lot. Granted, he is a big-time talker. But that's a guy that's kind of crucial to what you want to do as a team because he's a veteran leader. He played significant minutes at an Arizona team that was playing in tournament games, and that experience that can't be denied. And I think that when your next option is Travis Perry and Colin Chandler, that's just not a good sign. And I think that Kerr coming back is definitely going to help out Kentucky. But I also don't know maybe if he'll even come back because it's just been kind of like, whenever he gets brought up, Pope's just like, we'll see. There's stuff we got to figure out, and there's a lot to be done. But I think Kentucky's hurting in that regard right now because it can't all be put on Lamont Butler's shoulders.
Yeah, it's definitely a rough situation for Lamont. Having to be able to carry the point guard duties right now is at Kentucky is an extremely tough ask for a guy who's a senior. Heck, like any basketball player to come into Kentucky or any blue blood and have to be the main point guard, and like in this case, play as much as Lamont is. It's just a super tough ask. So I do think Kirk Kriisa is the guy they're missing right now. He brings a lot to that team, shooting, an attitude almost, but in a good way for that team. It brings a lot of like intensity, and I really do think missing a guy like that is really crucial in road games, especially because like you need a guy to be the villain of sorts when you're going into a rowdy crowd like that. So
Yeah, switching back over to the Georgia side of things, I think we've kind of covered all of our bases when it comes to Kentucky for now. This is a team that, they've kind of been looked upon as like the lower portion of the SEC. I mean, we talked about it in that one video. We didn't see them making their way into like the top 10 range. But do we think that this team has a possibility of stealing an NCAA tournament bid, or is it just going to be too much of a rough sledding for them moving forward? Because I have their schedule pulled up right now. After Kentucky tonight, they have Oklahoma on Saturday. Then they're going to Tennessee. They host Auburn. They get Arkansas, Florida, and then Georgia to round out South Carolina to round out January. So Blake, do you think Georgia has the makings of a possible tournament team? Because I mean, they've got the freshman star with Asa Newell. They've got a solid supporting cast, like nothing special, but an average supporting cast. And this is obviously a win that they had to have if they want to start crafting a tournament resume. I'm not sure if they'll be able to steal a bid or not. I would come back in maybe mid-February and see how they ended up. But what do you think if you had to give a prediction at this point? It's very early, but I think it's worth discussing.
I definitely think a bid is up for grabs for them, especially with that win tonight. That's going to be really crucial moving down towards March. And this stretch coming up for them, like you said, is going to be really telling for potential NCAA hopes with Oklahoma at home for them. On the road at Tennessee, who they got boat raced tonight by Florida, but Florida's a heck of a team, probably a top 5 team right now in all of the country. Then they got to play Auburn at home, go on the road at Arkansas and Florida. So, I mean, if they can steal at least one of those games against Oklahoma, Tennessee, Auburn, or Florida, I mean, I definitely could see them making the tournament. They're going to have a lot more than just the Kentucky plus one of these wins coming up. But if they can steal this or another one of these games coming up and they continue playing at a high level moving forward, then, I mean, it's definitely possible.
Yeah, no, and you alluded to it. Tennessee got the break speed off them tonight, so let's just get straight into that. We've covered this game at length. Mike White in Georgia, congrats on the big win. A statement for you, and good luck with that end of January slate you got coming up because that's rough sledding. But Tennessee, man, I said in the TikTok preview I posted today, Florida, I thought they would win, but I said that I thought it would be close if they did get a win. And man, it was the opposite of close. This was a historic L for Tennessee. I believe this is the largest margin of defeat for an AP number one team in about 50 plus years, I think is the stat I saw. 43-73 down there at the Swamp. I mean, Blake, Florida just had a highly emotional loss there in Lexington, 100-106, and then they come out and do this to what's been the number one team in the country for a few weeks now. I mean, if you're Todd Golden and Gator Nation, you got to be ecstatic about what you've seen out of your Gators recently because, I mean, even in the defeat at Rupp, they were humming offensively, and then they come into this game and they make a really good Tennessee squad just look like a JUCO team.
Yeah, let's just get this out of the way. Elijah Martin, Walter Clayton, and Will Richard, all three of those guys moving forward are going to be one of the best guard trios in all the country. And then Denzel Aberdeen coming off the bench is insane. He had like 16 tonight on efficient shooting. Alex Condon, double-double on the night with also 4 assists. I mean, they just absolutely boat raced Tennessee tonight. It was never close. I mean, Tennessee looked like prime Virginia with 15 points at the end of the first half. So, I mean, a really bad showing for Tennessee. I also think this kind of goes to show that they never should have been the number one team, respectfully. It should have been Auburn always. But, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, this has obviously been a heated debate for weeks now on social media. Auburn and Tennessee fans, they've been going to battle over which team's truly better. And I think, tonight with this result, and then you've got Auburn, who's currently handling their business against Texas, I think you're seeing who really might have been the best team of the two, at least as of now. And Blake, another thing for me that's impressive when it comes to Florida, they got this result with Walter Clayton Jr. like having a bad game. Like he only had 7 points on the night. And he shot 30%, and Will Richard as well. He was 3 for 9 with 7 points. But then you had other guys like Condon, Martin, and Aberdeen. They showed up in spots and chipped in and did what they had to do to get the win. And really, this was a game that was won more so on the defensive end for Florida than offensively because Florida didn't shoot the ball exceptionally well. It was only 39% on the night, but man, they just clobbered Tennessee. They didn't give them any easy looks at all. They made it a physical game, and Tennessee ended up with a 12 for 56 shooting night, which is absolutely atrocious. I'm looking at the splits here. 3 for 16 for Chaz Lanier. That is bad, to say the least. Zakai Ziegler, 4 for 12. Milicic Jr., 2 for 7. Yeah, and then Jordan Gainey, 1 for 11 off the bench. This was just not your night if you're a volunteer fan, and if you're Rick Barnes, there's a lot of serious reevaluating to do here because this is definitely a concerning result. And Blake, how concerned are we about this Tennessee team moving forward? Because I think kind of the question for a while now has been, do they have the players offensively outside of Lanier to get it done offensively? And this was a night where, you see Lanier, he can't throw a ball in the ocean, and the rest of the supporting cast around him can't either. And it just results in an all systems failure type performance.
Of the SEC, the rest of the SEC, if they can watch film on this game and see how they shut down Chaz Lanier, I mean, it's very well possible that this Tennessee team could get shut down night in and night out by teams, because if you're holding one of the best scorers in all the country to 3 of 16 from the field, it's just tough to see that team having enough on the offensive end. I mean, Milicic is a pretty good scorer for them. Ziegler at times can be a solid scorer. Gainey coming off the bench usually is a pretty good scorer. But, I mean, besides that, that team offensively doesn't really scream number one good. I haven't ever really thought they're number one good this year. I mean, I just put it completely honest with you here.
No, not at all.
But if the rest of the SEC can watch film and shut down that Tennessee team, then it's definitely possible that some other teams can make noise in the SEC.
Yeah, and I mean, Tennessee, not to dunk on them too much because, in terms of, just taking care of your business and beating who was in front of you, they earned that number one spot for a while because, I mean, Auburn folded at Duke and Tennessee obviously went unscathed until today. But this definitely, I think, kind of settles the debate for now as to who's the better of the two. And there's really not a whole lot to take away from this game. I mean, when you shoot as bad as you did for Tennessee, I mean, you just got to throw this one in the trash and not even look at the film, in my opinion, if you're Rick Barnes. But before we move off of this one, I want to do kind of a live, power rankings update right now, Blake. We'll stick to the top five only, but we obviously, before conference play, we talked about it. We've now got about a week's worth of games under our belt. What are we feeling right now with the live top five as we speak? Who do we think is, the best of the best right now?
I probably top five what in the nation or SEC?
Just like top five in the SEC. Like if we had to rank the SEC of the five best right now, just kind of like a live power rankings type of thing. Maybe not how they'll finish, but just right now.
I'd say right now at one, obviously Auburn. I mean they're handling business like you said at Texas by like 15 right now, and road environments this year are really hard to get wins at. So to have a exclamation win like that on the road is pretty big. And then number two, I'd say Florida right now. Granted, they did just lose to Kentucky, but I mean, if they were playing like a best of three, best of five series, I very well could see Florida dominating that series. They're really good, like overall as a team. Number three, Alabama. Probably, yeah, Alabama. Number four, A&M. No. Number four, Kentucky. Number five, A&M. Oh, wait. No. Okay, I'm going to make myself look like a dumbass leaving out Oklahoma. Okay, Auburn, 1. Florida, 2. Wait, oh my, Auburn, 1. Florida, 2. Tennessee, 3. Oklahoma, 4. Kentucky, 5. Maybe.
Yeah, possibly.
It's hard to do it, though, because, I mean, like, all these teams are so good. Like, top to bottom. Yeah. Even Vanderbilt, they're not going to probably make a ton of noise in college basketball, but, I mean, they're still a quality team. South Carolina, the worst team in the SEC. They got that Clemson win. I mean, they couldn't make noise.
Yeah, the only thing you got going against you right now as far as Oklahoma, they did get blitzed on Saturday by Alabama.
Yeah, they did.
That was a rough showing for them. Maybe swap Alabama in for Oklahoma there. But if you're
did I leave out Alabama?
Yeah, you said Oklahoma instead of Alabama.
Oh, my God.
I thought that.
Hold on. My bad. This is awful to do. Auburn 1. Florida 2. Who did I say at 3? Tennessee 3.
Mm-hmm. Bama 4.
Bama 4. Oklahoma or Kentucky 5. One of those.
For me, I think I'm going Auburn at number 1 right now, clearly. I mean, that's not much of a debate. Then you throw Florida in at 2. I think you put Alabama at 3. Then I'm going to say we take Kentucky at 4. And then that 5 spot. You know what?
Biased.
I'm thinking about this. Hold on. Let me go Auburn, Florida, Bama. I'm actually going to go Texas A&M 4th right now. And then I think that Kentucky's 5th at the moment. And Tennessee, I mean, losing that badly and playing that poorly. I mean, I know Kentucky just lost to an unranked team, but I think the result tonight for Tennessee is a little bit more damning. But I might be crazy in saying that, or maybe I am biased, but that's just kind of how I feel right now. If you made me pick one of the two, barring recent results, I think I'm still taking Kentucky over Tennessee. I don't know about you, but that's just my feel on it as of now.
Yeah, I'll probably take Tennessee right now over Kentucky.
We'll see. I think they're going to actually meet up here in about 2 weeks, I want to say. I believe they play on
Something like that, yeah.
I believe they play on a Tuesday night here in a couple of weeks. I'm not
Yeah, the
entirely sure
28th.
on that. Yeah, 28th. Okay. But yeah, I mean, those were the two biggest games on tap for tonight. Obviously, two pretty shocking results, I would say, overall. Before we get out of here, I'll note that Mississippi State, they're currently up 15 on Vandy. Auburn, they're taking care of their business at the moment. There's still time, 8 minutes left. They've got an 11-point lead. Pittsburgh got absolutely blitzed by Duke. So did Utah against Iowa State. Georgetown gave Marquette a scare there for a little bit, but Marquette ended up winning by 8. And then Arizona, they absolutely went into Morgantown and just dominated. Went in there and took their lunch money, 75-56. West Virginia just got a ranking next to their name as well. But yeah, Blake, I mean, we had a loaded Tuesday night, and I guess after all the action that we've seen, what's your biggest takeaway before we head out of here for the night?
I'd have to say Kentucky's inability to play on the road right now. Georgia looking better than what people thought they would have been. And Duke's ability to keep basically belt to ass night in and night out.
Yeah. My big takeaway is college officials, please do better. That Georgia-Kentucky game was an absolutely brutal watch. I mean, I think I could cut a whole maybe like 15, 20-minute video on the state of college basketball refereeing right now. Because, I mean, that's not even in just the Kentucky-Georgia game. Like, this is a NCAA-wide problem, and it has been for quite some time now. But we'll get off that topic and leave that for another day, put that in the save for later tab. But Blake, we'll go ahead and get out of here, get this thing edited up and out for the people. Everybody enjoy the rest of the action going on tonight in college hoops. We'll have a preview episode up here in the next couple of days for what we got on tap this weekend. But for now, Luke Tackett, Blake Smith, signing out. We'll see y'all later.